State of Oaxaca, Mexico, May 30th, 2022. The devastating Category 2 Hurricane Agatha caused floods and landslides that resulted in casualties. There are missing people. This hurricane went down in history as the strongest ever recorded off the coast of Mexico in May. The maximum wind speed reached 105 miles per hour. Some bridges were washed out, and a number of highways were blocked by landslides.
The city was completely flooded on both sides.
Flood waters reached the windows of cars and minibuses. Trees were uprooted, and many roofs were blown off. Some cities in the state of Oaxaca were left without electricity and telephone service. Same day in Minnesota, USA, a violent storm hit. It was accompanied by squally winds and heavy rain with hail. The tornado that formed at that time tore off roofs and destroyed houses, resulting in trees to fall. About 75 houses were completely destroyed or seriously damaged. More than 72,000 people in Minnesota were left without electricity.
Well, it looks like a combat area. I mean, trees missing, huge trees, mature trees, and it didn't spare many. So the landscape's going to change drastically. Houses need to be rebuilt.
Day before, in Nebraska also passed a powerful storm with lightning, showers, hail, and strong winds. Huge hailstones the size of an orange or even more shattered windows and cars.
Wow.
Incredible.
Strong winds toppled trees and power lines, leaving thousands without electricity. The climate is becoming so changeable and unpredictable that even in regions with rainy seasons, rainfall and subsequent floods catch residents by surprise. So in the state of Assam, India, the monsoon season has not begun yet, and according to the data of the State Disaster Management Authority, as of May 27th, the floods already affected more than 5,500 people and several dozen casualties were reported. Later, on May 30th, a storm hit the country's capital, Delhi, with a thunderstorm downpour and hail in places. A squally winds gusting up to 62 miles per hour caused hundreds of trees to fall. During the rampage of the natural disasters, people were trapped under fallen trees right in their cars. As a result of the storm, there were casualties and injuries. If the rainy season came earlier in India, it cannot end in Brazil. Heavy rains caused the worst disaster in 50 years in Recife, Pernambuco. On May 28th, Grand Recife received more than a month's rainfall in just 12 hours. The streets and alleys became rivers with strong currents carrying mud and rubbish into houses. Large-scale landslides demolished dozens of houses.
I lost everything. I lost my house, my papers. Everything is lost.
Unfortunately, there were a lot of casualties. There were injuries and dozens missing. China, May 26-27, 2022. Floods and landslides also affected residents of 3 southern regions of China. There is information about casualties and the missing. The storm damaged more than 100 houses, roads, and bridges. Thousands of hectares of crops were flooded, and the downpours in the country did not end. Floods are taking more and more lives. Prolonged and very heavy rains, which provoke them, not only aggravate the situation, but sometimes also makes it impossible to conduct timely search and rescue operations.
Hello, you are welcome to Climatechange Crusaders channel. Please, we are encouraging you to subscribe to our channel, like and share for more insightful content.
Sichuan Province, China, June 1st, 2022. A strong magnitude 6.1 earthquake hit the southwest of China, with the epicenter at a depth of 17 kilometers near Yan City. Several aftershocks followed. There are casualties and dozens of injured. Underground tremors provoked strong rockfalls in the mountains. A rock formation collapsed directly on passing cars. Buildings, railroad tracks, and telecommunications were also damaged. About 13,000 people were evacuated to temporary accommodation centers.
We are in Sichuan. There had just been an earthquake. It started to shake. I woke my mom up because there were 4 of us sleeping. Me, mom, and 2 kids. Mom got up quietly and then said, "Hurry up, get the kids ready." I took my keys, my little sister, my mom took my son, and we ran down the stairs. I ran out. The first shaking was for 2 seconds, second time it was for 3 seconds, shaking really bad. We didn't come down then, it was really scary.
We invite eyewitnesses of climate disasters, as well as anyone who has specific knowledge of such events, to be interviewed. Please contact us, share your story. For the whole world to know the truth, participation of every person is important.
Abnormal hail hits Europe. North Bulgaria, 29th May 2022. A hailstorm the size of a chicken's egg almost completely destroyed crops in the disaster area, damaging roofs of houses and cars. In North Italy, people were hiding from hail the size of golf balls. The hailstorm damaged cars and homes. The Lombardy and Piedmont regions were the hardest hit. Romania and Hungary were also hostages of the natural disaster. The storm was accompanied by winds with gusts of about 100 kilometers per hour and hail. Damage was caused to farmland and infrastructure. Fallen trees and power poles blocked some roads. Several houses caught fire from lightning strikes in Transylvania.
The map shows the cataclysmic events that occurred on the planet between May 27th and June 2nd. They are not caused by CO2 emissions due to human activities, but by astronomical factors and their cyclicity. And it is already proven. All the facts about this were announced on May 7th, 2022 at the International Online Forum global crisis. We are people. We want to live.
Climate change due to CO2 emissions is negligible because the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere is negligible. The concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere is 0.04%, while anthropogenic CO2 is 0.0004%. How can 4 molecules per million that humans add to the atmosphere cause global climate change? The rise in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is a consequence, not a cause, of rising temperatures. Natural sources emit much more CO2 than humans. The main source of CO2 is the ocean, heated by intense magmatic processes on its bottom. The amount of CO2 emitted by the biosphere is also rapidly increasing. Trees have started to mutate, now emitting CO2 instead of absorbing it. In the last decade, the Amazon forest emitted almost 20% more carbon dioxide than they absorbed. And in Siberia, larches also began to emit CO2 into the atmosphere in the late 1980s. As a result, for the past 15 years, forests have been supplying it just as intensely as industry. Along with the forest, swamps began to emit CO2 as well. So the accumulation of CO2 is taking place at an increased rate in a natural way. The reaction of the biosphere and the ocean is a response to activation of the planet due to the 12,000-year cycle. Abnormality of the current events is confirmed by the period of the so-called Holocene optimum that occurred 6,000 to 9,000 years ago, when temperatures on the planet were 3 degrees higher than nowadays. However, there was no such a powerful emission of CO2, mutation of plants, and growth of cataclysms. Now the heating is happening from inside the planet.
As long as the consumerist format of society exists, we have no solution to overcome the climate and other crises. But there is still a chance to change everything. In order to do so, we need to consolidate and build a creative society. Read more at creativesociety.com.